and welcome to the first of a series of videos that will guide you through the rest of the research project. I hope that this series will not only help you drill deeply into the process of inquiry, but that it will also help you see the larger scope of interdisciplinary studies, and how your interdisciplinary degree can be an important part of solving some of the more complex problems our society faces. Historically, interdisciplinary degrees have been treated as a means to get students with lots of hours to degree completion. This is how many students have viewed these degrees, and frankly, this is how some institutions have treated them as well. Higher education has largely focused on providing in-depth training in specific disciplines. In fact, many students and faculty members alike complain of the general education requirements that take valuable time away from the concentration on disciplines. And so, if you're a psychology major, we'll typically try to do all we can to give you as much expertise and as broad and deep experience as possible within that discipline. If you're a chemistry major, well, then you can take some psych classes if there's room in your electives, but otherwise, you're going to be sticking to chemistry courses. Students who earn advanced hours in one field and discovered that they wanted to change majors have often found that there are too many hours required in another field to make changing majors feasible in terms of time and tuition. Interdisciplinary degrees were sometimes treated as a way to help students earn a degree, even if they didn't specialize in one field or another. But that's not how your degree was designed. In fact, your interdisciplinary degree is designed to address a growing problem. As disciplines become increasingly specialized, we find that individual disciplines can be very helpful in digging more deeply into a problem, but they also suffer limitations. A perfect example of this kind of problem is the recent evolution of medical school training. In earlier decades, student development focused on understanding medicine with greater intensity, and increasingly specialized forms of medical treatment emerged. That's great. If I have lung cancer, I want to know that my pulmonary oncologist knows everything there is to know about my condition, and I really don't care whether she knows how to do a nose job. Specialization, or disciplinarity, is a great thing. In fact, we as a society grew increasingly comfortable with being seen by geniuses who specialized in a specific area of medicine but had terrible bedside manners. I remember a friend saying to me, "If I need a specialist, I want the best, not the nicest." I tend to agree with that sentiment. But the medical community didn't. What the medical profession began to discover was that doctors needed training in communication and psychology in order to be better doctors. They needed to be able to listen to my complaints to better understand how I report my experiences of a disease. They need to get between my ears and understand why quitting smoking, for example, might be terribly difficult. They need to be more aware of what drives compliance to an intervention, or improves adherence to a protocol, or makes a person willing to fight cancer and choose not to give up. They need to understand human behavior and communicate with humans in order to be better lung cancer doctors. This is the argument for interdisciplinarity. Some issues, especially those involving humans, are typically way more complex than can be fully understood or described by a single discipline. In the early part of the year 2020, the entire globe began to understand just how complex a situation can be. In order to combat a virus, we need thinkers who are able to drill into the biology of a virus and understand its genetic and chemical structure. At its core, a virus is a biological phenomenon, and better understanding of those biological phenomena may well provide for a specific vaccine to prevent it, or a specific therapy to cure it. But thinking back on that time, one can clearly see that a biological explanation of the virus would never be the only facet of the problem of COVID-19. There were economic issues at play, whether we should keep borders open to trade, or what would the impacts of a national social distancing effort have on small businesses. There were political issues at play. Did leaders have the authority to impose or lift specific regulations on the public? And were they reliable actors in sharing information on the evolution of the pandemic? There were sociological issues at play. How did cultures and subcultures experience the news of the virus, measure of risks and costs, or which sources of information could be relied upon to be accurate? There were psychological, educational, theological, ecological, epidemiological, and every other kind of logical issues at play. And this is where the interdisciplinary lens provides an important and perhaps the most important perspective. How can problems that are larger than individual disciplines be solved through an interdisciplinary approach? You see, your degree is necessary. Your ability to look across two different fields and see the ways in which they interact one another in a larger context is imperative. Your degree gives you the perspective to see that, yes, pulmonary oncologists need a clear understanding of the genetic interventions and how those therapies provide different outcomes for some types of lung cancer than radiological interventions. But we also need folks who can see that bedside manner plays a role in patient compliance and resilience and can recommend what other specialties are necessary. And this is what our course is designed to address. We're going to explore a strategy of inquiry called interdisciplinarity. This approach is really about developing the ability to see the benefits of disciplinary approaches and finding their limitations, and then bringing disciplines together to solve complex problems. If you ever need an elevator pitch for your degree, this is it. I learned how to bring different specialties and points of view together to solve complex problems. Your research project is designed to do just that. Over the next 7 weeks, you will engage in 4 important stages in interdisciplinary research. First, you will learn how to identify and articulate a research problem that is interdisciplinary. Second, you will learn how to listen to disciplinary voices as they attempt to address facets of the problem. Third, you will work out the ways in which those disciplines bring added value to the problem, discover their weaknesses, and listen to narratives of experience that relate to the problem as well. From there, you will draft a recommendation to address, though not necessarily solve, the problem. And lastly, you will reflect upon the process. Reflection and iteration are key components of interdisciplinary research expertise. In the end, you will bring these parts together into a whole research portfolio which you may find useful to share to prospective employers or revisit as you help address complexities in your future work. Since I mentioned iteration, I want to give you an important takeaway. If you learn nothing else from this video, learn this. Complexity requires iteration. Iteration means repetition of a process. You will find that there are several places in this project where you will turn in your work, get feedback, and then revise your work. Get comfortable with this part of the process. We're not asking you to perform a research project. We're asking you to experience one. Even if your first attempt at a section is great or good, your instructor is still going to give you feedback and send you back to work on it some more. This iterative process is an imperative part of good problem solving. You may have heard it said that Edison claimed to have tried 3,000 different versions of the light bulb before finding success. His friend, Walter S. Mallory, reported a conversation with Edison on the topic. According to Mallory, I said, "Isn't it a shame that with the tremendous amount of work you have done, you haven't been able to get any results?" Edison turned on me like a flash, and with a smile replied, "Results? Why, man, I have gotten lots of results. I know several thousand things that won't work." In the next video, we will explore what makes a good research problem and how to craft one. This will be your first step toward your new ninja skill, bringing different specialties and points of view together to solve complex problems.